Well, okay, I think we're recording, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, I'm very excited. Aren't you excited? I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, here we go. Hey everyone, this is Henry. I'm Henry, and as any good friend of mine will tell you, if we ever hang out together, sometimes I rant about serious things, but about 78.2% of that time will just be me ranting about things like, oh my god, did you see the trailer for the latest Avengers movie? Oh my god, did I tell you what Tim Gunn said on Project Runway? Oh my god, did I tell you what's coming to Broadway in the fall? They are making Days of Our Lives into a rock musical starring Carly Rae Jepsen and Matt Damon. Wait, was that a nightmare I had? Anyway, the point is, I wanted to give my poor friends' ears a much-needed break and instead rant to you, my internet friends, in a semi-sporadic, episodic diatribe I like to call Henry's Soapbox. Today's topic is, my dad, Leonard Lethbridge Sr, is just plain awesome, and here's why. Or also known as, my dad, my hero. Or also known as, wow, our chief and counsel are a bunch of Okay, just kidding. That was last video. Okay, do it again. Or also known as, honoring the unhonored. So, this is my dad, Leonard Lethbridge Sr. If you've watched my first video, you'll know that he was the son of Peter Lethbridge and was raised by his grandmother, Julia Lethbridge, or Wombly Psalm Pagewan. Wait. Last video I said I needed to start at the beginning. I think this video I'm going to start at the end. Present day, 2018. So, 4 years ago, my dad had a massive stroke and lost his ability to speak, as well his ability to do normal day-to-day things that he used to do. When I heard the news, I immediately, without thought or hesitation, moved back down here to help Julie take care of him. During this time, my mom fell in the bathroom, broke her hip, and unfortunately passed away after surgery. We were devastated.
That's not funny. That's super sad.
Our mother was the matriarch of our family, leading our family through troubled times like a lioness protecting her cubs. Okay, truth be told, she was way more like Molly Weasley.
Not my daughter, you bitch!
And so, for the last 4 years, Julie and I have tried to fill Dad's remaining time on this earthly plane with as much life, love, and fun as he's ever experienced. We took him on a family Christmas vacation to West Edmonton Mall. Although I should have recorded it, I didn't. We just finished some chocolatey treats, and we're now having a bit of a sit down.
Who's resting
Okay.
after our chocolate treats?
We went to Banff for a few days. Took the Banff gondola. Never done anything like this, huh, Dad? Nope. No, poor Dad. Wave. We took him to Waterton one summer. All right, here we go. We are at Cameron Falls, Waterton. Yay! Every year, we try to take him to the local rodeo, the Wood Mountain Stampede.
Okay, here we go. Come on, Wood Mountain, scream out! Oh! Well, ladies and gentlemen,
incidentally, the Wood Mountain Stampede is Canada's oldest continuous rodeo, and where the local Lakota would also hold an adjoining powwow in the early part of the 20th century. Speaking of powwows, it was our reserves powwow this year that inspired today's Soapbox rant. So let's get right to it, shall we? One weekend a year, our reserve gets funding to put on a large health fair, followed the next day by our annual general meeting, usually followed the next day by a small feast and small powwow. One year we had something called Culture Days, but we won't talk about that atrocity. But this year we had a powwow, and they bragged about how much money they got donated specifically towards the powwow to the tune of $6,000. I want you to keep that in mind as I go on this rant, okay? Okay. So, this is Darrell, one of my oldest and best friends, or BFFs as the youngins like to say. They do still say that, right? Anyway, she had never been to a powwow and made the drive all the way down from Saskatoon to come see it. Julie's BFF and her daughter were also excited to come, so Julie and them and Dad all went in one car and Darrell and I went in another. You still with me? Okay. Now let me start by saying that the drummers they invited, awesome. Fantastic. First rate. All of the professional dancers, big and small, that blessed us with their talent, incredible, wonderful, amazing, superb, marvelous, sensational. So thank you, drummers and dancers from out of town, for coming to our little reserve and displaying such phenomenal talent and grace. They were just fabulous and they need to be honored. So I honor you. But unfortunately, that's where my praise for this powwow ends, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you loved our powwow and thought it was just the bee's knees, then I recommend that you stop the video now or you skip to further on in. Again, if you don't want to hear anything negative about the Wood Mountain Reserve powwow, please stop the video now or skip to further on in. It's okay, I'll give you time. You still with me? Okay, here we go. So, this is a Washichu powwow put on by Washichus for Washichus, so that our Washichu counselors can dress up and play Indian. Oh yeah, they put their hair in braids, they put on their little beaded moccasins, they sprinkle some Lakota words in their speech, like I just did. One woman displays her neophyte, hackneyed, Aboriginal art, and they all just end up looking like some offensive and comical mythic native stereotype.
You heard that right.
Ja sam Winnetou.
Winnetou.
The truth is, I'm really glad we have a powwow, even if it is a disingenuous joke. I would rather have this tragic farce of a powwow than not have anything at all. Which is why I've not said anything publicly about it until now. But the disrespect shown to my father and the other elders at this powwow, and indeed this whole weekend, was too much for me to stay silent. So bear with me as I go on a mini rant about the terrible, dreadful, disastrous mismanagement of this event. I swear we'll get back round to my dad, but first you gotta understand where I'm coming from and why I was so appalled that I felt the need to make this video rant. So just stay with me, okay? Okay. As a chef, I have managed some of the largest kitchens and some of the most luxurious resorts in North America. That's what qualified me to be the chef to lead the brand new kitchen in the multi-million-dollar expansion to the Friendship Inn in downtown Saskatoon.
When 12 o'clock rolls around, these trays will soon be filled. On today's menu, spaghetti and homemade sauce with garlic toast, and of course dessert. This site can be seen at Saskatoon's Friendship Inn. The Friendship Inn has a clientele of around 1,200 people, most from Saskatoon's inner city. They serve 2 free nutritious meals a day, including breakfast and lunch, while providing a safe place for people in need. On average, the Friendship Inn serves 500 to 600 meals a day and approximately 15,000 meals a month. And without the dedicated volunteers and employees, these meals would not be provided.
If they can sit down to a meal that is prepared with love and tastes good and reminds them of home, I've done my job.
These meals serve hundreds of people each day, and without the help and support of dedicated volunteers and employees, it would be difficult to serve meals like these. Chantal Wagner, WABC News.
One of the reasons that I jumped at the chance to be chef here was because I had been homeless myself and have eaten at many different homeless food services across the US and Canada. So you could say I've been on both sides of the counter. Now I swear this does relate to Dad, just stay with me. Okay, so why am I telling you all this, besides bragging? Because I wouldn't serve a homeless person the slop that they feel fit to serve us. I mean, no word of a lie, I've eaten better when I was homeless. Dumpster diving. You know, you'd be surprised at what you can find.
Most of the good food is buried underneath just like cabbage.
This potato looks pretty good. Give it a rinse, give it a scrub. Dinner.
But seriously, I overheard someone say that the soup that they served us at this feast was the worst thing that they've ever put in their mouth. Even worse than the soup that I talked about in my last video, which still haunts me to this day.
I don't like it! I don't like it! I don't like it!
This soup was worse!
How's that possible?
I don't know! It was just plain water with no stock or seasoning like the last soup, only this time they had put leftover meat and potatoes and carrots from the night before. That's it. Leftover meat, potatoes, carrots, plain water. Boiled it all, brought it outside so that it got cold and the fat congealed on top. They served this with their trademark bologna sandwiches. Thank you, Darrell, for being our model. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love me some bologna. But this was supposed to be a feast. Now, when you hear the word feast, what kind of images pop in your head? Is it bologna? But this was not just any feast. This was a Lakota feast at a powwow. There was no buffalo or wild game. There was no choke cherries or Saskatoons. There wasn't even any bannock or fry bread.
Way back when, we were having a feast on our reservation. A good old feast. We didn't have a whole lot of food. Just a little bit of deer meat, a huge vat of mashed potatoes, some Coke, and fry bread. But the fry bread made all the difference in the world. You see, a good piece of fry bread turned any meal into a feast.
Now here's the thing. They had 2 small pots of this soup, pre-wrapped bologna sandwiches in Ziploc bags, unwashed fruit directly from the box it came in, only 2 small cases of bottled water, little packs of jelly candies, and an individually wrapped cookie. But I'm unsure about the last 3 items because they ran out of everything halfway through. They were coming around with plastic spoons, they ran out. They were coming around with bowls, then they ran out. They had to pour the last ladle from the last pot of soup into a styrofoam cup that Dad happened to have because Julie had to go to the band hall to get him water. By the way, why are we even using styrofoam? Aren't we supposed to be natives, water protectors, Earth's guardians? This would really make that one Italian guy from the 70s very sad.
People start pollution. People can stop it.
So my poor father was sitting there with a literal cup of soup, a bologna sandwich, and an apple. And that is it. While the people across from us got a spoon, a bowl, soup in that bowl, even though it was god-awful, sandwiches, apples, bananas, a bag of gummy candies, an individually wrapped cookie, and a bottle of water. Now I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here and say that they didn't intentionally run out just as they got to my family. But if that is the case, then they are the most short-sighted, stupid, bungling idiots, because this exact same thing happened last year where they ran out of supplies and bottled water. Now I understand you don't know how many people are going to show up, but I think it's safe to say you can stock up on things like spoons, bowls, and bottles of water. But it wasn't just the fact that they served us food that I wouldn't serve to a homeless person and called it a feast, or the fact that they served it to us like we were at a Lakota funeral instead of a powwow, or even the fact that they ran out of the food that they did serve. But it was the fact that they didn't serve the elders first, which offended me the most, which in our culture is a huge thing. My dad is 87 years old, one of our reserve's oldest elders, and he had to drink his soup out of a styrofoam cup. He didn't even get any bottled water or gummy candies to wash down that revolting taste from the congealed fat that coated his mouth from this abomination they call soup. Sorry, the chef in me is very passionate.
The only thing worse than a cook who can't boil is a narcissist in full denial. Thank you for nothing.
And that's when I realized that I needed to make this soapbox rant about Dad. Because watching him drink this excrement gave me flashbacks of all the stories he would tell us while we were growing up about his time at residential school. Reality warning, sad bits ahead. My dad was just 6 years old when they ripped him from his grandmother's arms and forced him to go to Lebret Residential School. He's in these pictures, but I don't have the heart to ask him which one he is because I don't want to trigger any flashbacks. None of his stories that he ever told about his time at the residential school ended well. Something common would always trigger it, and he would tell some horrifically, unbelievably evil story about an experience he endured while at the school, while remaining completely emotionless, stating it as simple fact like the sky being blue. One time we were at a restaurant in Qu'appelle and I ordered bread pudding for dessert. And he said, you know, back at Lebret, the nuns and the priests would make us eat bread pudding that they made out of moldy bread and spoiled milk. We had to be grateful, they said, because they were giving us a treat. If we said anything, they would beat us. Yep. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. His stories got so much worse. I'll spare you those ones. As a child, my dad suffered, was beaten and tortured at the hands of people who considered themselves righteous and godly, who thought that they were doing the Lord's work. I will never understand how people can drag babies kicking and screaming away from their mothers and think that what they're doing is right, even if it's the law. If you are unaware of the residential school policy here in Canada, I recommend that you visit the website of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission at www.trc.ca. Now this is one of the reasons that I idolize my dad, because he taught me what true strength looks like. Even though he experienced some of the worst trauma that someone can go through as a child, he never allowed the trauma of his past to shape his future. He faced and accepted the worst that life had to throw at him, and he kept getting up time after time. He always jumped at opportunities to better himself at every turn, never forgetting where he came from or who he was. He taught his children to do the same. Throughout my own life, I've had my own fair share of traumatic experiences and have lived through enough terrible things to make me feel sorry for myself all the livelong day. But let's face it, sometimes I come down with a case of first world problems. What do you mean I can't get cell phone service out here? Oh my god, this is like literal torture. Like, literally. But aside from looking up to him and trying hard to have just 1/10 of the strength that he has, one other thing I always looked up to him for was his ability to pull some new story from his life and make it sound like the most fascinating adventure. I would always think, God, how can one person fit that much into just one life? working in the glass factory in 1956 in Los Angeles and personally delivering all of the windows for the brand new Disneyland Hotel. In the 60s, he went to night school to learn computing and did his final exam in punch cards. In the 70s, Mom and him would flip houses before it was cool. He went to school to learn how to paint, and I grew up with his paintings on the walls. When I came into the world, he was already working for the U.S. Postal Service until his retirement as postmaster on the Lower Brule Indian Reservation. Now, if you watched my previous video, you'll know that in 1992, my dad retired and moved him, myself, my mom, and my dog Puppy, yes, Puppy was his name, to the place where he grew up and had his most fondest childhood and teenage memories, the Wood Mountain Reserve. It was his dream to live his life out here and pass on all that he had built onto his children. My dad was also an amazing self-taught carpenter and even hand-built our fence, Mom's clothesline, the bridge that connects Julie's house to our house. But I think his crowning joy was when he built Mom the gazebo that she had always dreamed of. But he didn't just concentrate his efforts on our homestead. He repaired or installed miles and miles of pasture fence around the reserve. He repaired and built corrals. He was our reserve's elder that spoke at things like grand openings.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege to be here, and on behalf of the Lakota Sioux Nation, we support and are grateful for this white mud taking on this optimistic and positive direction. It will open up opportunities for spin-offs and employment in our community. May the Great Spirit hold you in the palm of his hands.
He was fundamental in getting together artifacts for the internationally touring exhibit, The Legend of Our Times, in which Julie even had a horse skull that she painted, tour around the world. Anyway, the point is my dad has done a lot for this reserve, so if anyone from the Wood Mountain Reserve deserves to be honored at a powwow put on by the Wood Mountain Reserve, it should be Dad. But no, that doesn't happen. Instead, this 87-year-old Lakota elder, residential school survivor, who has lived a life successful by even white man's standards, sat drinking cold fucking slop out of a styrofoam cup on a cold, windy day. This is the respect and care they show one of the reserve's oldest elders. This is how they honor him. Not to mention seizing his house and throwing everything him and his family has ever built into the landfill. So that's why I needed to make this video and rant mostly about him. Because if I have any kind of platform, I want to use it to tell the world how awesome my dad, Leonard Lethbridge Sr. is. He's my hero, and I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for him. As a baby, my dad fed me, clothed me, changed my diapers, and made sure I felt safe and taken care of. It is my duty, and honor to now be able to do the same for him in his senior years. And that's just keeping it 100. The kids say that, right? That's what the kids say, right? That's what the kids say? No. Hey, I'm just trying to be cool. Oh my god, I didn't even talk about how accepting my dad was of me being gay. I never officially came out to him. In 1996, I came out to my mom and just left it up to her to tell the rest of the family. When I was going to get married to a half-breed Lakota guy, he embraced him and told him he accepted him as one of the family.
What?
You were married? Yeah. To a Lakota guy? Yeah. Well, half. Wait. You know what? That is a whole other soapbox rant that I need to go on. Agreed. So yeah, basically that's it. I felt I needed to honor Dad by making this video talking about him, because our reserve is run by incompetent, arrogant nincompoops who embarrass themselves, dishonor our elders, and can't even figure out simple things like soup, or the fact that they need to buy more than 2 cases of bottled water for a feast. Just ridiculous. So until next time, I'm Henry, and this has been my second official Soapbox rant. And if you're still with me, thank you for listening to me rant. Bye.